My Adventures with Superman continues to move at a breakneck speed, and you know what? I'm actually really enjoying it. Episode 7 was jam-packed and really amped up the ridiculousness. In an episode that sets itself up as being about Clark and Lois's first date, we are introduced to the multiverse, a league of Lois Lanes, Kryptonite, evil Superman, Mr. Mxyzptlk, and a whole bunch of super fun Easter eggs. And all of this in just the 7th episode of the first season. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's so very fun. The multiverse is a bit of an overdone gimmick of late, if I'm being honest. We've seen it done well, and we've seen it done poorly. My Adventures with Superman thankfully does it quite well. The concept isn't shoved into the episode to simply throw a bunch of Easter eggs and references in our face. It's integral to the overall narrative. Within such a short runtime, the writers managed to introduce this massively world-breaking concept while also using it to believably develop the characters. I quite liked how the League of Lois Lanes further played into Lois's insecurities, while also planting seeds of doubt about the nature of Superman. And the idea that Superman learns about his origins, hearing about his home planet, and being weakened by kryptonite for the first time as a result of these multiverse shenanigans is a wild idea. I'm not going to lie, on paper that idea sounds pretty stupid, but this show somehow makes it work. I have to mention the Easter eggs here. They were fantastic. They didn't detract from the story at all. They didn't feel like a desperate attempt at nostalgia bait or fan service. The characters didn't enter into the frame in an awkward pause for applause moment, nor did the narrative come to a halt to show us poor CGI renders of deceased actors. No, what they did was have these really fun references that existed in the background or actually served to inform the narrative. This episode has a frantic, chaotic energy, and I think the main reason it somehow works is because they use Mr. Mxyzptlk as the catalyst for it all. And this series giving him the title of Chaos God is very befitting. Mr. Mxyzptlk is a heavily underrated DC character, and I was so happy to see him introduced this early into the series. He is a psychopathic, fifth-dimensional being who is undoubtedly one of the most powerful characters in the DC multiverse. He can change reality on a whim. The only thing stopping him from destroying everything is his love of fun. He loves to mess with lesser beings in the third dimension, and this show definitely stays true to the character. I especially love how they seemingly stayed true to my most favorite aspect, that there is only one Mr. Mxyzptlk across the entire multiverse, and every incarnation of him is the same being. He can pop into any world at will and have whatever fun he likes with the characters of that world. They didn't really expand too much on his true capabilities in this episode, but having him showcase his meta-knowledge of Superman's history was a great, quick way of scratching the surface of the power he has at his fingertips. His presence in this episode reminded me of another similarly sadistic, other-dimensional trickster, Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. Now, obviously, Mxyzptlk is very different. He's far more powerful, and his intentions are different. Bill Cipher was a villain. Mxyzptlk is mostly just a silly nuisance. But the introduction of Bill Cipher in Gravity Falls really upped the stakes and gave that story a real purpose. And I feel like Mr. Mxyzptlk has just done the same for this story. He's given both Clark and Lois clues about Superman's origin, introduced Clark to the fact that other superheroes exist, and shared with Lois information that will no doubt lead to conflict down the line. We've only just been introduced to the character, but he's already blown the story wide open, and I have a feeling we will continue to see him. I really hope they use this character throughout the rest of this series, not only because I think he deserves more love in general, but I love the idea of this other dimensional being popping in and out, whispering into the ears of the characters, manipulating them, while also kicking down the doors of the wider DC universe. With so much going on in this episode, it would have been easy for it to have lost focus on the characters, but this episode does such a great job of enriching Clark and Lois's relationship. From seeing how desperate they were to please each other, to how strongly they defended each other, to seeing them finally kiss. The heart of the episode was them, and it was truly well done. Lois getting a glimpse into the alternate dimensions where Superman is evil, while also being given some kryptonite, sets up a perfect conflict down the road between her and her father. We know General Lane's attitude towards Superman, and Lois won't be able to 100% disagree with her father's argument that Superman is a threat, having seen what she's just seen, and also from picking up on how the League of Lois Lanes viewed Superman.
Maybe you don't know Superman as well as you think you do.
The choice to introduce all these wacky elements in one episode and to use them to push the story forward in the way they did was highly impressive. and it was also just really fun. The show up to this point has been really charming, but to see it get downright weird like this makes me even more excited for the future. I could nitpick and say that everything is moving way too quickly, but at this point I'm strapped in and enjoying the ride. There are a lot of elements in the mix now though, so it will be interesting to see if they can stick the landing in these next few episodes without getting too overwhelmed. I'm reviewing every episode of My Adventures with Superman, as well as making other videos like this Across the Spider-Verse theory of mine that I promise you is worth a watch. So please feel free to subscribe and check out my other videos.